Like, there was this guy that used to work with us named J.D. Hancock. He was very unseemly looking individual, okay? all of this man's teeth were rotted out of his head, like worse than you know who. Like, they were missing. This guy would get a hot dog for lunch. We often went to a hot dog stand for lunch, during our lunch break when working with my dad. And we would all get hot dogs. He'd get his in a bowl so he could cut it up with a spoon because he couldn't chew it. Very disgusting, alcoholic, kind of almost hobo type man. He knows he's not supposed to shit in my dad's house. My dad's told him he's not allowed to shit in my dad's house. One day, he's cutting the grass, and Dad's not there. Mom's there. And he knocks on the door. Says, hey, could I use the bathroom? And she says, of course, use Lamar's. And he shit in Lamar's toilet. And he shit on his toilet seat.
Oh, wait, how did he do that? Was he hovering?
That is not the first time I know of him shitting on a toilet seat. There was an old country store not too far away that we used to go for lunch. That's where the hot dogs were. And the lady who owned it, her name was Rebecca, I believe. And she was an older lady in her 50s, very nice lady. She cooked the hot dogs. They were delicious. She had a bathroom in the back. And we were all allowed to use this restroom, but it was sort of you used that restroom the same way you would use a friend's restroom. Mm-hmm. If you peed on the toilet seat or on the rim or something like that, you got some toilet paper and you cleaned it up beyond reproach.
Mm-hmm. Unwritten rule.
JD shit on her toilet seat too, and somehow sat on it and smeared it about a bit. Then he came back out. Keep in mind, in this old country store, there's a big table, lots of chairs sitting around it. We'd all sit around it, eating our hot dogs and talking, and, it's a store, so anything you'd want is right there. It's kind of a cool environment. We're all sitting there hanging out talking. Now, JD wasn't allowed to sit with our group, of course. He had to sit by the...
He sat with people that shit on themselves.
He sat to the side by the video poker machines, where a spot usually reserved for children. But you didn't want to eat. We didn't want to watch him eat, man. I'm telling you, it was like watching a pig munch on slop. It was very disgusting.
Oh man.
So he gets up. He's I'm gonna walk on back here and use the bathroom. So he goes back there, uses the bathroom, comes back. Nobody thinks anything about it until Rebecca goes back there. I suppose she was also going to use the facilities, and she came out and she let him have it in front of about 14 of us. JD! Yeah.
Like a puppy.
What? Like he didn't know. He just shit on somebody's toilet. He's like, you shit on the toilet, JD. That's what. Now you go back there with that bleach and this scrub brush and these paper towels and you clean that toilet until it's spotless.
Which is appropriate.
You never come in here again.
Because I don't want the hot dog maker to also be the toilet cleaner.
Fair enough.
There just shouldn't be people shitting on the seats of toilets.
She made this grown-ass man go back there and clean his shit, and we were all just like, nobody laughed. It was not a funny time.
No.
Now, back to your father, though. He fucked with Lamar's toilet. So
I forgot about that.
What happened to this gentleman?
He used his toilet. So Dad didn't hit him, but he cussed him. He did what Dad calls it scolding. He said, it happens every now and then. It used to be a beating when he was a younger guy, but these days it's mostly scoldings, it seems. And you might think of scolding. Well, my mom scolds me all the time when I don't do my homework. Nah. When he yells at you, his lip kind of curls up. And his face gets red. And he starts pointing. And he starts moving around. And you're like, I didn't know he could move that fast. And he's getting a little aggressive. Like maybe he will do something. And he really tears you down to the bone. He really rips you apart. And he threatens you. He lets you know that unless you apologize at this point, it might get physical.
Dude, this is very much like what happened with my general contractor today. At one point, remember I said I walked up to him, he offered me a chicken leg from KFC, and I offered to punch him in the face. That was my counter offer.
Fair trade.
So he basically just cussed him out and explained to him that he was never allowed to even cut the grass. He's like, that job's over now. You can never cut the grass again. You're going to have to work over here on the farm and do the other stuff. And so Yeah, he never did hit that guy. That guy was a serious alcoholic, though, and it like really. And one day we were changing light bulbs, and he was on, up the ladder, hundreds of light bulbs, and JD hits the floor, goes into a seizure. I've never seen that before. I'm like 12. My dad is more afraid of this than I am. He's like, oh, he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, and we stand there and like looking down at him. He's just fucking stroking out. He's seizing up. He shook for maybe 90 seconds, came to. He had a little blood in his lip from biting his mouth a little bit, and like that was it. After that, Dad fired him. Dad was like, yeah, I can't have you over here like with like spinning blades and shit and farm equipment, and at any moment you can drop out. So he hired a new guy. He hired Chuck. Not much of a step up, really. Chuck was my mother's age, 42 or so at the time of our meeting, and yet he looked like he was in his late hobo 50s.
Wow.
There's a difference than,
Yeah.
He was in his hobo 50s. Long, black, shaggy hair, greasy, filthy, pockmarked face, very, I don't know, just looked like it was gross, like dried up and nasty from years of smoking hand-rolled cigarettes. His fingers were yellow, like just stained yellow from those cigarettes he'd always smoked. He drank Red Dog beer and the cheapest vodka he could buy. His greatest skill was he could calculate the cost of alcohol to a T. If he had $1.02, he knew exactly what it took to get to that bottle of liquor. If he had 13 cents, he knew exactly what it took to get to that tiny bottle of liquor. He always knew. He'd come around. You got 37 cents?
Wow.
I'm like, why don't you just take $5 man? What the hell? 37 cents? Like that's not even worth my time handing you to you. Like in the store. Yeah. Like it was just absurd, and he always knew. And so I mentioned that my dad never hit JD, never got physical with him ever, even though JD was very bad at his job. He would drinking on the job, passing out drunk, that sort of thing. So Chuck also had a bit of a drinking problem, you might say, and he lived at the end of my dad's farm's driveway in a trailer with another man named Jeff who was crippled from polio, and he was way too young to be crippled from polio, if you know what I mean. It was like, how white trash are you? And and they had Jeff's girlfriend, I guess he could still fuck, who was very pregnant, and I remember one day they had seen her trying to like induce labor by sticking a vase up there in the front yard. Classy bunch, okay? Just so you know. So, what Chuck's job, pretty lower tier kind of job, if you can imagine. It's picking up the dead chickens from my dad's poultry houses every day, because there's 120,000 total. Every day, a percentage just die, and you can't leave them in there; they'll rot, and that causes disease, etc. You're not supposed to. Someone walks the entire perimeter of this thing. It's a 5-mile walk a day, and you pick them up, you take them out. That's Chuck's job. Chuck wasn't doing a good job of this, and so as you can imagine, just like my disgusting garbage, there are rotten chickens in this poultry house, and that's a no-no. It's not good for business. You're not allowed to do that. Despite what you see with all the like animal cruelty stuff and those horrible horror scenes you often see from PETA, like for the most part, like those farmers are kept really under control, and like you can't do that. There's rotten chickens in there, though. My dad sees this, and he's like, Kyle, go get Chuck. Tell him he's going to have to finish his work. And I'm like, okay. No, excuse me. He said, you can either go get Chuck, or I can go get him, and you can tell him what he's got to go do. And I'm like, think about it for a minute. I'm like, well, that second one is definitely the more awkward situation type thing. I'm like, well, I'll go get him. So I drive down there. I say, he's drunk as fuck. And I'm like, hey, Chuck, Dad wants you to come back over to the farm. He's got something he wants to talk to you about. Okay, so I get Chuck, take him back up there. I'm off to the side sitting on a bucket.
How do you get him? You have like
in a truck. I drive a truck down there. It's literally a quarter mile away. Just zip right back.
Okay.
So we're standing there. My dad's standing there. I'm sitting on a bucket, and he tells Chuck, he's like, Chuck, there's rotten chickens there. You're doing a shitty job. You can't do that. You know you can't do that. If you can't do the job right, then you shouldn't be doing it at all. He says, you need to get in there, and you need to finish your job, or you're not getting paid this week or any more ever. And Chuck said, well, if you don't like the way I did it,
Oh no, he stopped right there.
Stop.
So you froze it. If you don't like the way I did it, carry on.
If you don't like the way I do it, then you could just do it your damn self.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Nothing happened between him saying that and Chucky's on the ground. I'm not sure how it got on the ground. I don't know if it was a push, a punch. He was just on the ground, and Dad was kicking.
Dad was kicking.
These weren't like the bar scene in Goodfellas kicks where you're like stomping the guy's face in and really trying to ruin him for life. Like, he was kicking him in the ass with a big size 13 boot on the other end of like
Steel-toed, probably.
50
That's
pounds
almost
of
more
him.
insulting at that point.
Right in the ass crack every time Chuck would make it to his knees. Bam! And you could hear it. It was audible, and I'm just watching him kick him, and every time he kicks, he adds a little retort. Pow! I don't think you'll like the way I'm going to do it, Chuck. I'm sorry, Lamar. I'm sorry. You go, pow! You're going to be sorry by the time I'm done, Chuck. You gonna get in there and clean that shit up? Yeah, Lamar, I'm gonna get in. He's crawling toward the place where the dead chickens are. He's going after him now. Get in there! Get in there! He kicks him 5-6 times. He kicks his ass until he's like in the building, and like he gets up and goes back to work.
Wow.
It's as close to someone beating a horse into like giddying up as you'll ever get with a human being in this day and age.
It was beat to a monologue.
Chuck was a real character. I have one more Chuck story if you'd like it.
Please.
Oh, you know I do.
Yes.
Please.
All right. So, as I mentioned, Chuck lived near the end of the driveway of the farm in this trailer with his polio-stricken friend Jeff and Jeff's baby mama. The county took the baby, so I guess it's still a baby mama though, even though yeah. So he lives down there. Well, eventually, believe it or not, someone like Chuck can even rub themselves raw on someone like Jeff. And Jeff decided he didn't want Chuck around anymore. He kicked him out. So, Chuck's getting paid at the end of it's the end of the day. We're done with work, and Chuck's telling Dad this, and Dad's like, well, you know how it is, and just leaves it at. He's like, it's basically like, every man for himself out here, brother. You're not coming to my place, that sort of thing. And so Dad tells me, he says, take Chuck to the bank, pay him. Then take him to, and then if he wants to go to the liquor store, take him there too, and that's what he told him. And I'd done that before. I'd go to the bank, do the business card, get him his cash, pay him, take him home, whatever. So I take Chuck, we get his cash, it's like $80, it was a couple days' work. Take him to the liquor store, and he comes out and he's got. I'm sorry, don't let me fuck this up. So. I drive Chuck down to the end of the driveway, and Chuck says, hang on a minute, I need to get a few things before we go. Could you drop me off at whoever's house that's just down the road? And I was like, yeah, I'll do that after the liquor store. Sure, I'll do that for you, because he's been kicked out, right? So he throws all of his shit in the back of my truck. Trash bags of clothes, trash bags of shoes, and 4 television sets. He had 4 of them. Don't ask me. I didn't ask him. 4 television sets loaded up in the back of my truck. Bank, liquor store. He comes out, brown paper bag, and a ginger ale. And I'm just about to tell him, hey, man, no drinking in the car, right? No drinking in the car. I'll get you to where you're going. But I see that he's just cracking open the ginger ale. So I back up, I'm driving. And he tells me where we're going. It's like 10 minutes away. And I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't sign up for this shit. Like, this is bullshit. All right, fuck, I'll drive you there. So I'm driving there, and I look over. He's got a pint in one hand and the ginger ale in the other. And he's going, glow, glow.
Oh, wow.
He's two-fisting that shit, chasing it down. And there was no point in stopping him at this point. I would rather him have an empty bottle of liquor than a half-full bottle of liquor, so I just shook my fucking head, and I was just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're cracking that shit open here? I'm like 17? Like, this is not going to do I'm the one that'll get the fucking open container charge. I get him down to where he's going. It's these, like, pretty crummy apartments, pretty seedy, if I'm being honest. I wouldn't stay there. I wouldn't want to. And, he says, right there's where we're going, man, but I ain't allowed down there. So, how about you drop me off right here, and you go down there. It's apartment 4B, and ask her if Chuck comes stay. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
okay, well I've come this far, Chuck. Chuck hops out of the fucking car. I drive down there. Knock on the door. It wasn't really a door. It was kind of this metal gatey thing. Kind of a cage, more of a bar door.
Prison,
Blang, blang, blang. This disgusting woman comes out, like 240 pounds. She's wearing like a house dress, I suppose you'd call it. Like,
A nightgown?
yeah, basically like with the buttons, and I can see a little titty like between this button and this button. Like they're like her tits are so big that they're like between this button and this button. There's some titty showing.
Oh, wow.
And it's not good titty. And I'm
It's not good.
All
No,
titty,
she's
good
like-
titty.
like, what?
Same voice too.
Good afternoon, madam. There's a Chuck Gabriel who sent me calling, and he would like to know if he could come stay here with you forthwith. You tell that son of a bitch he ain't never allowed back down here no more. I'll shoot his ass. You tell him, man. You tell him he comes here, me or Donnie, one, will shoot his ass. Very well. Chuck hops in the fucking truck. Chuck hops in the truck. He goes, "How'd it go, man?" I was like, "I don't think it's gonna work out, Chuck." I was like, well, I guess I could go stay at Mama's old place. And I was like, "Where's that?" And it's actually about where we started this whole journey. So I'm driving there.
man.
I assume that he means he's going to go live with his mother. No, his mother's in a nursing home.
Abandoned.
There is an abandoned house with no electricity, no running water, no utilities of any kind. And to this day, that is where Chuck is. I can take you there.
Gosh.
I can take you there right fucking now. He's in there laying in a sleeping bag, asleep, stoned out of his fucking gourd. I got 2 or 3 more of these. One night
Is
he
someone
knocked
playing
over.
the show through a speaker? Like, I swear I hear an echo.
Yeah, someone is a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's coming through on Wolf's End a little bit when I speak up too loud.
Really? Okay, I'll check
Maybe.
it out.
A little.
It's not too bad. So one night, like I said, no electricity. He knocked over some sort of oil lantern they had as light and set the whole fucking place on fire. But it didn't burn the place down. It just sort of scorched the room, like everything, all the fat, the curtains, the whatever, the blankets on the floor, all that shit burn up. But there wasn't enough to catch the wood on fire and really burn the place down. So the whole room was just scorched.
Just
So
black.
for months afterward, Chuck was also scorched from the soot. He was sleeping in the sooty floor. He looked black. He was filthier than he ever was, and that's saying something.
My father's
This-
room was like that growing up.
Oh.
It was, yeah. Dude, your stories are so much better than like my dad's story. Like my father had an alcoholic working for him, but he felt bad for him, so he sent him to rehab and paid for it until he was rehabilitated.
Boo! Good person. Boo! He should have beat his ass. He should have beat the alcoholism
He
out of
didn't
him.
kick him in
what
the
if that's
ass
just
until he
his
did more
first world?
1040s.
Besides the Cannon housing projects, Chuck is also banned from going in the local grocery store. His side of the story was that they were giving him old food back in the deli, and when they got caught giving it to him, they lied and said he was stealing it. My side is he was probably just stealing that fucking food. But in any case, Chuck is not allowed back at the grocery store nearest his home. So I see him riding his bike around town all the time. He wears
Wait.
this little war cap.
How did he lose his awesome job though? Because you
What
didn't
an awesome job.
working for your dad.
Oh, let's see. How did it all end? What was the last straw? Oh, Chuck took my dad's Kawasaki Mule, which is, I don't know, $8,000 ATV type thing, and ran into his buddy Jeff's trailer drunk, wrecked it.
Oh, he
It's
wrecked
like
the
a
mule.
golf cart. It's like a golf cart. He ran into
like
a trailer.
a sturdy
and-
golf cart. A
The
little more
green
sturdy. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. He crashed that fucking thing into a trailer, and it's like all plastic on the front, like a big bumper, and there's a hood that pops up with storage inside, and all that got cracked and fucked up, and that was the last straw. Yeah.
Wow. That's messed up.
That
Man.
sucks.
The guy with polio
Oh.
in this century was more productive than that guy.
One more. Chuck was hospitalized for a gunshot wound.
Self-inflicted.
Chuck's side of the story is
I'm gonna
Chuck's
guess the
side of the
caliber was 22.
close.
38.
380.
I think it was a 22. It was either 22 or a 25. And here's his side of the story. He was sitting on the porch at that abandoned house, which is a good deal off the road, I'd say, 50 yards maybe. And he says someone was driving down the road. He heard a gunshot, and he was hit.
Here's the luck.
Here's the problem with all that, though. The bullet is in the roof of his mouth.
Wow. That's
Really?
a hell of a drive-by shooting.
I don't know if he was. I don't know if he
Now,
was
did it go
trying to-
through his chin, or was it just the roof?
Yeah, he shot through the palate of his mouth. I think he missed the tongue, and it was stuck in the roof of his mouth.
Suicide or
Natural stuff.
carelessness?
Oh, it's hard to say. It's Chuck. One more. This is the last one, I promise.
You got
He
dude.
was-
I got time.
You could just be trying to clean your teeth with it.
He was driving his bicycle. Keep in mind, it's like an old Schwinn bicycle or something. Like, it's not a cool one. It's got fenders on it, right? He's driving his bicycle down the road, and he claims that someone came out of nowhere and ran him off the road. He was probably just high and stoned and drunk and crashed, but broke his fucking leg in the ditch on a bicycle wreck. And this is not the kind of guy who can afford to be immobile.
No.
The hospital knew him as a prescription pill abuser, and they wouldn't give him anything for a broken leg.
Oh no!
Oh, wow.
No,
What
good
would they
on
have done
them.
in
Good on
Canada?
them.
I will say this though: anytime my dad gets some nasty liquor or wine or that big someone gives him some booze that he doesn't want, puts it in Chuck's mailbox, it just gets gone. Chuck doesn't. Chuck must think it's the liquor fairy.
Liquor fairy. Don't kill yourself. Here's some more booze.
Oh.
One more, and I swear to God, this is the last one. This is from my dad's point of view. I wasn't there for this one. Dad goes to this abandoned house one time to pick him up for work. He hadn't seen him in a while. He's standing on the porch, kind of knocking on the door, and he hears a voice from inside. And it's not Chuck's voice. He says, "I see you out there, you big old son of a bitch. I got something right here for you. I'm gonna kill you this time." And Dad's like, "I'm creeping away at this point." he's like, "Hey, you hear this guy in there? Just come on in here. I got something for you right here, big boy." He didn't know it was Dad. Apparently, somebody had been coming down there and just beating him up. like they were some neighborhood punks because they are right next to a bad area who just been coming down there and beating them up. And
Wow.
Chuck's buddy's in there with probably the same pistol that Chuck accidentally shot himself with, ready to blow somebody away. Dad was like, "So I don't think I'll go down there no more." And I'm just like, "You sent me last week." He's like, "You take care of yourself."
Wow.
Chuck.
That's amazing. My goodness.
Damn.
He might be better than Rickety Cricket.
He's a lot like Rickety Cricket, I swear, a lot like that. I would get him to come. I could totally get him on here. I don't want the man in my house.
You don't
I
want
want
him
him.
No, you don't want to start that.
Yeah, like if you guys could go some kind of a remote, you get on location with Chuck.
We'll go to a library. They got Wi-Fi there. Take
You
him
go
into a
by the
library.
way.
Wow.
What's that?
Gracious.
Yeah, Chuck. I think that's all the Chuck stories I got, though. Chuck was a cool guy. He's still alive. I don't know why I'm giving him the past name. He looks dead, but I think he's still around.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.